Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. CEOs, welcome back. It is day 3 of the Aligned Conversations Summit. Welcome in. Welcome in. It's so good to see your lovely faces this morning. Dharma, Terry, Renee, Katrina. Hello, everyone. All right. We're going to just jump right in this morning. We have had a bit of a pivot with our itinerary for today. We have a speaker who got some fabulous news, which is she is expecting, but that also means she's not feeling terribly well. But that's part of being your own CEO, right? You get to say, sorry, can't do it today. So we have switched our itinerary, excuse me, to shift a little bit. So we'll be ending a little bit earlier today, but that's okay. We still have plenty of really great stuff for you today. So you do not want to miss out. If you've been with us since day one, you know what I mean when I say this space is different. We don't just talk here, we transform here. And if you're just joining us today, buckle up because you walked straight into the crescendo. Hi, Sarah. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let's take a moment to honor where we've been over the last few days. So, day 1, we circled up with our roundtable, which was amazing. Such a great conversation that we just had with each other. I had some questions and we just sort of chatted and had a really good time just speaking from the heart. And then we dove deep with Kim Parkinson on 3 key steps to boost your podcast growth. And I don't know why I've had trouble saying the title of her thing since we started. There's nothing wrong with it. It flows fine. It's just me. Then we had Samantha Went on emotional concussion, the hidden fog in your identity. And those conversations cracked open clarity and courage in equal measure. Day 2, we had Sarah Dawkins, who reminded us with you're not broken, you're healing something generational, that our wholeness is always waiting. Kate Allison gave us Influence to Impact, 3 steps to write your business boosting book. And Renee Coster turned chaos into clarity with Rooted and Ready. Lori Baines took us into When Your Brand No Longer Reflects Your Brilliance and how to bridge that gap. And the lineup built momentum that is still vibrating in this room. Now, here we are, day 3, big finale. The exhale that becomes a roar, right? But before we dive into today's powerhouse speakers, I want to bring you back into yourself because scaling and alignment doesn't start, scaling with alignment doesn't start with strategy. It starts with sovereignty, right? So let's do something together. Close your eyes if you can. Put one hand on your chest, one on your gut. Feel your body. CEO to CEO, this boardroom with a custom gold-plated fire pit. Now imagine this. Every obligation, every should, every piece of burnout weight you've been carrying. It's not strapped to you, okay? It's sitting in a suitcase at your feet. See it there? Heavy, bulky, weighing you down. Yours, but no longer you. Now here's the shift. I want you to open that suitcase. In that mind's eye, I want you to open that suitcase and pull out one piece. The task, the role, the energy drain you know is blocking your brilliance. Hold it in your hand. Feel the weight. And now toss it straight into the fire in front of you and watch it burn. What's left? Space, breath, power. That's alignment. That's the burnout free CEO code. And today, every speaker will hand you another key to keep throwing fuel into that fire, to keep burning the old rules down until all that remains is the CEO you came here to be. So if you've been half watching, I'm looking at you. No, tune in now, right? This is not the time to multitask. This is the day to activate. So who's guiding us on this final journey? Randi Fechter, the profit margin pathfinder, with the easiest way to see what your business needs next. Massey Rodriguez, abundance activator and energetics coach, with the chakras of business, shifting the energy of your business for aligned abundance. Then close with me, Bunny MD, and I'll be sharing Scaling in Alignment, the Burnout Free CEO Code. This is not a talk, this is a transmission. It's the blueprint I've lived, tested, and refined to help CEOs like you step out of the hustle spiral and into expansion that feels like freedom, because that's what we're all after anyway. So the only question is, are you ready to burn the suitcase, claim your sovereignty, and step into the next chapter of your CEO legacy today? All right, let's get started with Randi. Give me just one moment here. Oh, I'm so excited. I just get so excited. Oh, life is so good. Life is so good. So blessed. And I get to be here to share it all with each of you. As soon as I get this to cooperate, we'll be underway. That's not it. That is so not it. Okay, where did it go? Here we go. Let's try this again. Okay. Tech. It loves me. It really does. It wants to work for me, and it wants to work for me right now. So we're gonna get it to do just that. Here we go. There we go. All right. Is everyone seeing that?
All right, everyone. I cannot wait for you to meet today's guest, because she's living proof of what it means to build a business that truly works for you. This interview, this one right here, right now, is pre-recorded because right now, my beautiful speaker goddess Randi is on a cruise celebrating her son's wedding. Here's the magic. She's also here now with us live in the chat as you're watching. That is the beauty of running your own company the aligned way. Freedom, flexibility, and the ability to be guest speaker at a global summit while celebrating a milestone with your family. Randi is known as the profit margin pathfinder. She helps entrepreneurs stop chasing vanity matrix, right? And finally see what's really driving the profits in their business. And the clarity she brings, absolutely game changing. All right. So in this interview, you're going to hear her wisdom firsthand. And then right after, she'll be sharing her talk, the easiest way to see what your business needs next. So get ready to take notes, and let's dive into this powerful conversation with Randi. Hi, Randi. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks so much, Bunny. I am so excited to be part of this and so glad that I'm able to do this and yet still be able to enjoy my cruise.
I know, right? I mean, that is the power of running your own company and running it from alignment. And I know we're both all about that in our businesses, whether we speak that same kind of woo-woo lingo like I do, or we don't. We all know what it means to run from alignment versus force, right? Versus nonstop hustle. Well, can't say anything about nonstop hustle when you're doing it from a cruise. All right. So I've got a few questions that I wanted to ask you to share with our audience, because I really want them to get some insight into what it is to be you inside of your business and how you got where you're at right now before we get into your talk.
Okay.
So, what inspired you to start your business, and what was the very first step you took to bring it to life?
So, what inspired me to start the business was honestly the overwhelm of working 70 plus hours a week and being at the beck and call of a CEO that, I had to, like, it was emails, text messages, phone calls, and around until I replied. And I just needed that. I needed to claim that time for myself. And the first step was making a decision to make that change. That yes, it was a giant leap off of a cliff, without a parachute, but it was so worth it, ups and downs and everything, that it was literally taking that first step and making the decision.
Beautiful. Boy, do I hear you about taking the leap and the go round. I was in nursing before this. They're so a little bit different, but go round. I totally hear you there. All right. So looking back, what was the turning point or breakthrough, let's say, that really shifted you from just starting out to truly gaining traction inside your business?
It was losing that sense of yeah, imposter syndrome, and questioning, like who am I to be telling people this? And pursuing the education to sort of validate that I already know this, and say, okay, well, I was able to ace through that education because I already knew it, meant that, okay, it cured the imposter syndrome, it increased the confidence, and that confidence comes through, obviously, when you're talking to clients or talking to prospective clients, and saying, yes, I am an authority on what I'm saying, and that made the difference.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that. So many of us as entrepreneurs struggle with imposter syndrome. And it can be something that can be in the beginning of your business, the middle of your business, all the way through your business, right? As you expand, because as we expand, we really push our boundaries. And so that really opens up, it can really sort of feed into that imposter syndrome, right? But I love that you took control of it and took steps to overcome and move through and past that to get yourself into business, because so many people, it stops them and they never actually make it into business, much less into 6 figures, 7 figures and beyond, right? So that's really great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important to be able to hear from people who are making it right now that they started out where so many of us started out, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So what was one of the biggest challenges you faced scaling, and what did it teach you about being a CEO of your own company?
So the biggest challenge I had for scaling, honestly, was the sales process. Because when I first started, it was right after COVID. So there wasn't a lot of people working from home. Weren't that many people that started on their own. And I had people coming to me. So I never had to make that, the social posts or the sales calls or learning that process. That learning how to connect with people that are already in my address book or in my orbit, or any of those people that I've had any kind of connection with, could be a potential client or a connector or a collaborator. And once I've made that shift and recognize that, the grind to find new clients became much easier.
Yes, because and we all know what that feels like, that grind, as you put it, to find clients. And it really shouldn't be a grind. It really should not. If you're having to grind for clients, oh, it's going to be a rough road, right? Like, we've been there. I've been there. Been there. We've all been there. I think most of us started out there. Very few of us just stumbled into a six-figure business. Like just, oh, hey, oops, I fell into it. And now I'm doing great. Yes, most of us started out with that because we're taught, like a lot of times we're taught, right? Grind, like go, hustle, 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 hustle. When really you're surrounded already and inundated and people that know you, love you, trust you. Like, right? Start close. Start, it should not be a grind. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So our next question. Who or what kind of support made the biggest difference in helping you move from that challenge into success?
Honestly, it was working with a sales coach, a sales strategist, because again, never had any sales history, never thought of myself as a salesperson. And once I realized as a CEO, as a business owner, guess what? I am a salesperson.
Yes.
I now needed to lean into the experts to show me how to do it in the efficient way that, the successful, efficient way. So yeah,
Yes.
that is really the biggest one there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny how you put that. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, the salesperson, that's still me, even though I'm like the CEO. Hi. I'm also the friendly, okay, so let's talk about what you need to get done today, right? Like, so like we have to have a lot of hats. We have to play a lot of roles. And so mentorship, right? So for you as a sales coach, for me, it was a voice coach, somebody to get me to where I could use my voice because I was very, I couldn't get on camera. It would make me sick to my stomach, literally. So I had to find me someone to work with to get out of that. So look, if we all have someone we need, I think that's another thing that's really important to share is if you're feeling like you need help, you're not alone. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not doing well as a CEO. It doesn't mean that your business is going to fail. It just means you need some help. You need some guidance. And believe me, we all do. I've had numerous mentors throughout, and numerous coaches and numerous, like, you name it, right? But they've all gotten me to where I'm at. And I took something from each one of them that got me to where I'm at. And so for you, it was sales. And I love that. I love that you honed in and focused on what area was really a struggle for you and that was lacking for you in what was not necessarily your wheelhouse, so to speak, and expanding into making it so. Right.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and that's amazing. Right. And it's a sense of accomplishment. It's a sense of and it really blows out that imposter syndrome, right? Because as you're learning to sell, you're learning how great you are. You're like, oh my gosh, like, look at all these cool things I have to offer. Right?
Exactly.
So, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I knew so much. And like, I was so awesome.
It's very true. I mean, I was very lucky to, my husband, who is my best friend, is incredible in business. And when I took that leap, I mean, I really consider him as a mentor as well. But of course, there's that relationship too that you're always like, was he just saying it to be nice? Or so a lot of the business part of what I do came from being able to talk to him and helping, having him guide through that. But the sales thing is not his thing either. So yeah.
Oh, but just the support though, just having the support at home. So many don't have that. So many entrepreneurs and CEOs, entrepreneur CEOs, that don't have that kind of support at home. So that is absolutely amazing. And of course, yes, that is right up there, isn't it? Right. Really a little bit above sales coach, because sales coach doesn't tuck you in at night and cuddle with you. Right. So like, and if they are, well, that might be a little bit different kind of a relationship that you have going on, but
very true.
sales. But anyway, so but no, that's really lovely. I love that you brought that up. It's important to have somebody in your world. If it's not your partner, a friend, another entrepreneur, right? Get yourself a biz bestie. Right? We need somebody in our corner. We need somebody, even I love how you said, I don't know if sometimes he was just being nice. Well, sometimes we just need somebody to be nice. This can be a difficult world, right? Running your own company, trying to get out there, trying to make it work, right? And stay in flow. and stay aligned, right? It's like it can be a bit of a juggling act at time because life gets lifey. That's one of my favorite things. Life gets lifey, right? So to come home and have that and know that you've got that kind of support is absolutely amazing. Hands up to your hubby. All right, good job. You win. You're the winner for today. Number one hubby of the world. Woo! This shout out's for you. Okay, so you can tell him he got a big shout out on the summit today.
I will for sure.
We are celebrating. We are celebrating all the partners out there, all the friends out there, BFFs that keep us uplifted and supported as we make our way, right? Hands down, great job. All right. If you could go back and give your earlier CEO self one piece of advice about alignment, growth, or success. So it can really kind of be anything, right? But one piece of advice to that when you're very first starting out, starting the company, and your dreams are wild and they're great and they're exciting and they're scary and all of the things, what's the one piece of advice you would have for Randi at that point?
Probably to know that it's not always going to be easy, and that there are going to be and it's not straight, and it's not just up and down. It is left, right, up, down, backwards, forwards, to just continue on, because there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and you will reach it as long as you don't give in to the hard parts. Like, it's worth it. It's definitely worth pushing through, but getting the help where you need to get the help. And you'll see it. Like, it will pay off.
Beautiful. Yes. For myself, if I could go back, same thing. I would say to myself, like, get help immediately. Don't try to pinch pennies, like, get the help. Because by pinching pennies, it took me that many more years to get things rolling. Right. I thought, okay, well, I'll invest in a coach later. I'll invest in a program later. I'll invest in a sales coach. I'll invest in all of those things later when I'm making the money.
Yeah.
I ended up investing because I wasn't making the money. Right.
Very true. Yeah.
I needed the guidance, it turns out. And in a lot of different ways. But I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of that. I took the steps and here I am. Right. I made sure that every need that came up, I finally realized when it came up, like, just seek the help. Don't sit and keep stumbling over it for months, days, weeks, whatever it might be. I had things hold me up for years, literally. Don't do that. Right. So I love that. Yes. Step out, get the help, get the support, and pivot. Pivot. That's what I hear you say. Pivot, because there's going to be a lot of pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can learn to roll with that, right? That's what you're saying. If you can learn to roll with that and just keep going, right? That's what you did. That's how you're here today, right? Beautiful. Yes. Randi, you're just glowing. You just make the whole screen just glow. I love it. Okay. So, what if you had one aligned practice, habit, or mindset that you think every entrepreneur needs if they want to hit 6 or multi-6 figures without burning out? Do you have a practice or a habit or a mindset that you do, that you practice, like you found really works for you? Anything you do daily, weekly, monthly?
I actually read like every night before I go to bed, and it's not a business book. It's not a how-to book. It is, a historical romance or a historical fiction, or, it is something that I've done for years, but I find that it turns off the constant thoughts running through my head of, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. But yeah, reading is sort of like my happy place. Like, if I'm stressed, I will go pick up a book and go read. Actually, I have my Kindle. I gave up on books because I have hundreds of books on my Kindle. So yeah, reading is definitely like my spot where I can just disconnect from all of the pressure and demands of life and work.
I love that. And historical romances, like, I would have never thought like that. I've never. What? Like, now I just got to know, like, what's a recent one that you've read, a historical romance? Now I'm like intrigued.
Like the Outlander series. Like, So I love that I've read the books. I've actually read them a couple of times. And now there's actually a TV series that I can go watch and see how they interpret the story versus how I interpret it in my head. And actually it's pretty close. But yeah, it's like that kind of thing. So time travel, historical,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, now you've got me thinking. Now I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump on some Audible and take a look at some historical romances. All right. No, but I love that this is something that helps you and that you've made it something that you do daily. And no, you're right. It doesn't need to be some fancy ritual or anything. Sitting down with a good book and just allowing your mind to escape into other facets of into the brain, into relaxation, into just taking your mind out of business, right? A lot of times when we run our own businesses, what happens? It's like 24/7, it wants to keep going, right? As we're laying down for bed, we're like, oh, I've got an idea. Oh, I should write that down. Oh my God, I forgot this, right? Yep. I was supposed to do that today. What's that today? Right? Like that's what happens. So I love that this is something you do right before bed because not only is this a beautiful practice, right? Just reading in general is such a beautiful practice and such a lost art, I feel like almost. I love that it just really allows the brain to release because you move into a fantasy world. And so the realism of life sort of just creeps out to allow for better rest.
Yeah.
You actually, whether you're realizing that or not, that actually feeds for better rest. So great. I love it. Great tip. All right. Okay. We're moving on to our last. Here we go. So you've chosen to share the easiest way to see what your business needs next as your presentation. Why was this the piece you felt CEOs watching needed to hear most right now?
Because everything always seems so hard, right? So for all of us, making changes, the day to day always seems so hard that I have found that paying attention to the data in the business, all of those numbers from all over those different platforms and things that we do already tell us the story of what our business is doing and how to make those changes. But the easiest things was just sort of educating on three. I only talk about three. There are so many, but I talk about three that are relevant for coaches and consultants and CEOs in the service base. That it just felt like that's what I had to tell them to realize it doesn't have to be so hard and that there's an answer for pretty much any struggle that they're having with their business. And it's mostly in the data.
Yes, I know.
Well, not mostly, it is in the data.
It is in the data. I was going to say
it is in the data.
It is in the data. Exactly. And something huge I had to learn. I did not, I'm like, Matrix, what? Wait, what? That was me to me for like a while in my business. I did not realize the importance. And I think it's a really overlooked subject. I have been to so many summits, so many conferences, so many things, and they talk about so many other things, but nobody really sits down and says, so that's why I really wanted to have you. Nobody really talks about how important this is and how this can make your business so much easier. Because once you begin to understand the data and what it means and represents for your business, you know where you need to grow, you know where you need to shift, you know where you need to pivot, you know where you need to dump, you know where you need to gain, right? And it's all hidden in all of that data. And that is exactly what Randi can help you figure out in your business. So we're going to go ahead and move over to her presentation. Stay with us right now as we get you hooked up and bring her talk in. Thank you so much, Randi, for being with us today. She's going to stay with us here in the chat. Remember, she's on a cruise, actually. So she'll be with us here in the chat as her presentation is playing. All right. Thank you, Randi. We appreciate you. It has been such a joy and such a privilege having you with us today. Thank you again and enjoy your cruise.
Thanks.
All right, let me get her talk set up. I think it is so cool that running your own company means you can do things like this. And because it's my company and I'm the one running the summit, I got to decide whether or not I wanted to pre-record, right? So like this is the kind of thing that we can do when we work together as women. We can support each other even in our free time, right? We can say, you can still have the freedom. You can still support me. I can still support you. Let's just find a way to make it work. Right. So I love that we have these kind of opportunities as CEOs of our own business. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get her presentation started here because I know you want to give this a good listen. All right. Grab your notebooks, grab your pens. Here we go.
Thank you, Bunny, for the opportunity to present to this incredible group of CEOs. While I am busy cruising and this is pre-recorded, I appreciate everybody being here to watch and hope that you learn how to see the easiest way to see what your business needs next, using the numbers you already have to make confident decisions. Let's get started. $1 million revenue and still no paycheck. I've seen this story many times. Business owners pouring everything into growth, sales going up, but nothing showing in their bank accounts. The answers are already inside the business. They're in the numbers you already have, if you know how to read them. Hi, I'm Randi Fechter, Profit Margin Pathfinder, founder of Fechter Business Strategy Services and creator of the Clarity Core Method. I help you find clarity at the core of your business, keep more of your hard-earned money without working harder, and get back to the reason you started in the first place. I didn't start here. I started as a stay-at-home mom, picking up bookkeeping jobs while raising the kids. I moved into business management and eventually became a finance director, managing multi-million-dollar budgets and profit analysis. That path gave me the foundation to launch my own business. And today, I use all of that experience to guide the business owners I work with. What I do now is simple but powerful. I show coaches and consultants the profit hiding in plain sight. I help them keep more money in their pockets without chasing more sales. And I give them the clarity and confidence to make smarter decisions faster. For me, profit isn't just about revenue, it's about choice. I've built my business so I can choose who I serve and how I work. And when I'm not serving clients, I'm enjoying family time and playing next to a short trip. But here's what broke my heart and why I do what I do. I saw too many small business owners who are smart, talented, and working nonstop, but don't have a safety net. They were busy, but they weren't keeping enough to stay open. That's when it hit me. Clean books aren't enough. Business owners need insight they can actually use. Over the last 2 years, I've sharpened my skills to make that possible. I studied business analytics and I learned how to connect sales, marketing, finance, and operations data into one clear picture. A picture that shows what works, what doesn't, and what should be fixed. That work led me to create the Clarity Core Method. So no one has to walk away from their business just because they couldn't see what was really going on. When you see the whole picture that your data tells you, you can grow on purpose. To help you, I created the Smart Growth Assessment. It's a quick check-in that shows you what your business needs next. Keep in mind as I share some stories, because you may recognize some of these signals in your own work. One consultant had the kind of calendar most people want: sales calls, client sessions, booked weeks in advance. On the surface, it looked like success, but behind the scenes, they were struggling to pay themselves. The money in the bank never seemed to match the work. One of them said to me, "Why does it feel like the harder I work, the less I actually keep?" The answer for them came from one number: profit per hour. Here's how it works. Take what you actually earn from a client, subtract your costs, then divide by the real number of hours it takes to complete the project. Not just the session, but prep, emails, follow-up, and all the extras that sneak in, including any team that you have working on it as well. When we did the math, the picture was clear. What looked like a premium service was barely covering their time. Most of it came down to scope creep, giving away extras, saying yes to things outside the package, letting clients expand the work without paying for it. The fix wasn't raising prices, it was tightening what was included, setting clear boundaries, and adding upgrades for the extra clients we're already asking for. Once they made those changes, the money they kept finally reflected the energy they were putting in. Another client, a coach, had just celebrated a $50,000 launch. Social media was full of champagne and congratulations. On the outside, it looked like a big win. But behind the scenes, they were stressed. They couldn't pay themselves. They didn't have the cash to cover expenses. Most of that money wouldn't hit their account for months. The problem wasn't sales, it was time to cash. Time to cash is how long it takes from the moment you make a sale to when the money actually lands in your account. For this coach, it was actually 90 days. Revenue on paper and nothing in the bank. We restructured their billing so they were paid faster, shorter payment terms, clear milestones. That one shift turned launches from feast or famine into steady income. For the first time, they felt profitable in real life, not just in reports. Then there was the small firm owner who was ready to grow, ready to hand things off because their time was maxed out. So they saw revenue was climbing, so they started hiring fast. Assistant, contractors, staff. On the outside, it looked like expansion, but inside, cash was disappearing. Within 1 quarter, they saw a 22% drop in what they could actually keep. The issue was balance between revenue and hiring. Most service businesses could sustainably add 1 new hire for every $100,000 in annual revenue growth. This firm had added 3 people, but not enough new sales to support them. Once we put the numbers side by side, it was obvious. Team growth was outpacing revenue 3-to-1. We adjusted their hiring pace to match real growth. Within months, the money they kept was back to healthy levels, and they were still expanding, but this time without draining their accounts. None of these breakthroughs required piling on more work. In most cases, the answers were already in business. Numbers aren't just reports, they're signals. They protect your vision, they show intention, they reveal where to lean in, they guide growth that lasts, profit per hour, time to cash, revenue to hiring balance. These are just 3 examples of numbers that are in your business. And while my stories talk about them individually, they don't exist in a silo. The truth is, the metrics that matter most are different for every business. They depend on your goals, your stage of growth, and where you're struggling right now. That's what the Clarity Core method does. It gets to the heart of which numbers matter for you. So you're not tracking everything, just the ones that guide better choices without adding more work. The easiest way to see what your business needs next isn't outside of you. It isn't another program or tool. It's already in your numbers. Why not take the Smart Growth Assessment for yourself? Quick, under 10 minutes, personal, built for your own business, actionable, 1 clear focus area for impact. Because when you can finally see the truth in your business, you can grow it on purpose, not by accident. Thank you again for joining me. I hope that you found this very informative and recognize 3 new metrics that you may not have known exist and that could be negatively impacting things in your business, including your profit. And also realizing that there are a lot of other metrics out there, some that may be not applicable to your business and your growth plans. Please download the Smart Growth Assessment, take it, and you should get some really good insight and feedback into your business. And then we can also chat. I'm more than happy to answer any questions of what kind of metrics you should be paying attention to. And let's dive in and help you grow your business.
Beautiful. Okay, incredible, Randy. Oh my gosh. I tell you what, when she was talking about time to cash, this is extremely important if you are new in business. If you are new in business and you are going to jump straight into high ticket, there's no shame in your game. Don't blame you. Jump straight into that high ticket sale. Just know that depending on how high ticket that high ticket sale is, some of the credit card, the places that you run through, Stripe, Square, PayPal, they can hold funds for quite some time while they decide whether or not it's a legitimate purchase. So just be aware of that, especially in the service industry. Here in America, especially, I can't speak to every other country. I can speak to here that they will at times hold funds if it is over X amount of dollars. I don't even know where they pull that figure from because it's not consistent either. I've talked to other CEOs. It is not consistent from one of us to another what they will decide to hold or how long they will decide to hold it for. This is not to scare you. This is to tell you so that you can prepare for how to access and know when you may or may not access your funds immediately. So don't have any spent, so to speak, until you recognize and realize what it's going to take for that money to roll into your account. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quickly because I have seen a few CEOs be taken completely off guard who launched with high ticket. I had a client who went high ticket right out the gate. We did a launch together. Her program was $5,000 per person, which is a nice middle ground on high ticket. That's right in there, that $5,000 mark. She did great. She sold two right out the gate. Two. I was working with her. We did some loving sales, and she got two sales just like that. But it took almost 90 days for her to get her money back from her company, from the company that she was using to charge people. So that's just something, again, it's just a tip. It's not to scare you. It's not to say that you need to be too scared to go into business, or it's just to tell you, make sure you're paying attention that it can take a minute for your deposits to actually come through especially if you have a new account. All right. Especially if you have a new account and they haven't seen you actually moving real funds, they can hold up your funds for just a minute or a little longer. All right. So don't let that hold you up though, because you have to start somewhere, right? You have to be new at some point. So incredible, Randy. Thank you so much for proving profit is about clarity, not vanity matrix. Right. That was game changing. Now go get back to your fabulous family and cruise. Thank you for finding an aligned time to share living out the dream. And don't forget, her freebie is awaiting you inside of Bunny's aligned blessing box. All right. So I see that we've got a few of you that just joined in. Hello, hello, and welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. You made it just in time for break. Randy, oh, what did I say Randy? Did I say thank you, Randy? I might have looked might have looked at the screen. I might have said did I say the wrong name? If I did, I am so sorry. I'm trying to look at the chat, look at the screen, like pay attention to what I'm doing. All right. Um, so we want to thank Randy for her talk and for joining us this morning all the way from the cruise. But like I said, we were about to take a break. So we had one of the things when we are CEOs means that when things come up in life, we have the ability to say, I can't do it. So sorry. Right. And that's what we had happen with one of our speakers. Although, for great and glorious news, she's found out that she's expecting, but that also means she's not feeling terribly well. So she's not going to be able to make it today. So our schedule has shifted just a bit, which meant my other speaker is like, she's also working right now, so she's on with a client. So she's going to be in about 12:20. So we're going to shift everything just a little bit. Thank you for being patient with me. We'll be back at about 12:15. I've got a few little activations we're going to do right before our next speaker. Thank you so much for your patience. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. As always, we will see you right after the break. Thank you. All right.